to the channel, and today we're going to be making a protection oil. This is a very simple oil. I'm not actually going to be showing you physically how to make it. I'm just going to explain to you how to make it because I don't need any currently right now, and I really don't want to make it just because. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain how to make it, and I think that that will be enough for you to be able to follow and make it yourself. So it's a protection oil, so you can use this oil on anything that you're doing protection workings on. Candles, poppets, petitions, sachet bags. You could use this on yourself, but it does have cinnamon in it, and that can be a little irritating. You can just leave the cinnamon out if you wanted. If you want it strictly for a body oil. I don't think anything else in here would be irritating to the skin, but I do know that cinnamon can be irritating if you are sensitive, or just in general, it can be irritating. So you could use it, like I said, to anoint yourself. You could use it to anoint your shoes, because that's something that you wear all the time, and you have it with you all the time, so that's a good way to use it for protection. You can anoint your jewelry. I have magical jewelry that I wear all the time, and I use this oil every so often. I'll recharge it with this oil, and that works out really well. And I don't have any problem with this cinnamon doing it this way just on my jewelry. So that's always an option. If you don't feel comfortable putting it on your skin, you could anoint your jewelry with it. You could anoint things around the house if you wanted with it. Like, you could put it on your door. You could draw like a pinnacle on your door with it. You could maybe do like an outline around your windows as a ward. But keeping in mind, if you're going to put an oil on something outside, it's going to collect the dirt. So that may be able to be seen by other people, just so you know. But you could use it for anything that you're going to be making or putting protections on. So this is a really simple oil. You only need a few things. You can add, I'm going to give you some crystals that you can add, but you don't have to. You can only use like one or two of these herbs as well if you wanted. I just think that the herbs that I'm listing here are well-rounded enough to be used for any purpose of protection. So the things that you're going to need your jar that you're going to put your oil in. I would use a small jar, like a dropper bottle, or I also use like roller bottles that are made for like perfume. When you can buy the roller bottles in bulk that are made for making your own perfume at home. I use those a lot. You can use those little jars you can get from the Dollar Tree. You do want to make sure that they don't leak. I've not had much luck with those jars from the Dollar Tree. But you could, if you really want to make a bigger batch, you could get a bigger jar. But I'm not thinking this is something that you're going to go through really quickly. You're going to use it consistently, but not something that's going to be gone within a month or two. So the smaller the jar is always the better, because that way you're using it before it goes bad. You're going to need your oil of your choice. You can use any oil that you choose. I personally use grapeseed oil for most of my oils. You can use olive oil, you could use vegetable oil, you could use corn oil, sunflower oil. The sky's the limit, whatever oil it is that you choose. Keeping in mind that some oils smell more than others, and that's why I like the grapeseed oil, because it doesn't smell. I love using olive oil, but olive oil, after it sits for a little while, can develop a smell. So keep that in mind, especially if it's something you're going to be using on your body. You know, the smell could make you not want to use it, and then the whole thing just goes to waste. So For the herbs that I'm going to give you, you can use either the dried version of the herb or the essential oil. All herbs that you put in oils need to be dried. Otherwise, they will cause your oil to go rancid. And we really don't want to waste going through all this effort just for it to go bad in a couple weeks because we didn't use the appropriate tools. Then you're going to need some sort of preservative. If you know that you're making a very small batch and you're going to be using it within a week, 2 weeks, then you don't have to add a preservative. But if you are wanting to be able to use this over months, you really need to have a preservative. So you can use vegetable glycerin, which looks like this. At least this version of it does. It's just vegetable glycerin. This is made for like making your own perfumes, your own body lotions, stuff like that. It is body safe. So I use this. I got it fairly cheap on Amazon. If you don't have this, you can use vitamin E. I'm sure you can get vitamin E on Amazon or maybe at Walmart. I don't know because I use the vegetable glycerin. I just think it makes a better product. So something to preserve your oil will give you a longer shelf life. So the herbs that you're going to be using is rose. Rose is one of my go-tos for protection. You can use the petal version or you can use the thorns, which are really, if you have like a rose stem with thorns in it that's dried out, you can use that, and that is very powerful protection. Rosemary is my second go-to herb for protection. I don't know why. It's my intuition has always said that rosemary is for protection, and I have used it ever since. You can use sage. You could use cooking sage. You could use wild sage, white sage, whatever sage you got. In my opinion, sage is sage. I know that there's different varieties of sage, so you don't have to just use a sage, white sage off a bundle if you don't have it. You can use cooking sage. You could use, we have a lot of sage brush here that I use for my magical workings too, because it's in my area and that's what I got. So, but you can use any type of sage. It doesn't have to be white sage. Cinnamon, I would either use a little piece of cinnamon bark, or if you're using a bottle that doesn't have a roller on it or a dropper, and you just got an open top, then you can use the powdered cinnamon, which you can find anywhere. But the cinnamon, any type of powders will clog up your dropper bottle or your roller bottle. So just keep that in mind, that could happen. I have never had it happen with a dropper bottle, but it could. And then the last ingredient is salt. So I like to add salt to my protections because that's just the quintessential protection is salt. So if you're using a roller bottle, you want to skip the salt because it could clog up your roller. It probably would be fine with your dropper bottle. I don't know how quickly, it depends on what salt you're using, how quickly it might dissolve in the oil. But that's always an option to take or add something of your own choice into any kind of recipe that I'm giving you. Just take it with a grain of salt. I'm giving you the basic recipe, and you add or take away what you feel like you need to do. The crystals that you can use, you don't have to use crystals, but if you want to use crystals, you can use black tourmaline, black obsidian, or amethyst. You could also use clear quartz. You don't have to use any of them. You could use one or several. It's completely up to you. I'm just giving you options. Those are the ones that I would personally use if I was going to use a crystal. So how the actual process of making an oil is you're going to set up your magical space. I don't always, well, I never make things on my altar because my altar is a giant cabinet that's doesn't have any real workspace to it. It's just a really skinny cabinet where I keep my stuff. But I set up a space. It's normally either at the kitchen table or I have like little fold out like TV trays. That's what they used to be called. That I will do my magical workings on. So you want to set up your little space. You're going to want to cleanse your area with whatever means that you normally use. I normally use white sage to cleanse my areas. You can use incense, you can use water, like blessed water. You could just use intention. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's just you want your space to be clean of all other energies than the energies that you're putting into your oil. You're going to want to add your vegetable glycerin or vitamin E into the bottom of that jar before you add anything else. So depending on what size jar you're using, since there's a variety of different jars, I can't really give you a exact amount, but how I do it as a rule of thumb is I put a fourth of amount of that jar as vegetable glycerin. So if my jar is this big, I'm going to only put a little fourth of vegetable glycerin in it. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb. A fourth of the jar of whatever jar you're using will be your preservative. And then I add a little bit of oil just to give it a little bit of liquid so the herbs won't stick to the bottom, especially if you're using powders. So then you're going to enchant all of your herbs and your crystals that you're adding as you're adding them to the jar. So as you're picking up each herb, you're going to enchant it. I normally just put it in my hand. I push my intention into that herb for whatever the intention is. In this case, it's going to be for protection. You're enchanting each herb and each crystal for protection. And as you add them to the jar, you're doing this each individually. And then at the very end, when you have all of the oil in, you're going to do it again. So after you get all of your herbs in and all of your crystals, then you're going to fill your jar up. Depending on what type of jar you're using, you want to leave enough space in the top for you to fit your caps or your dropper bottle if you're using a dropper bottle, because the dropper itself going down into the bottle needs space. So I would fill it up, to wherever you think that's going to give you enough amount to be able to fit your lids in. And you can always go back and add more oil if you think that you need to. But that's just going to depend on the jars you have. If you have an open, just regular lid screw-on jar, you could fill it right up to the top if you wanted. So you're going to enchant it one more time before you put the lid on. And then you're going to place it on your altar or magical space, wherever you keep your things. I do 3 days. You can do all the way up to 6 weeks if you want. It just depends on your personal preference. I do 3 days because I normally am very impatient and I'll only make stuff when I need it and I'll need to use it when I need it. So 3 days is about the max that I'll do. But that's just up to you. If you feel like it's charged right away, then you can just use it right after finishing it if you need to. That's totally personal preference. Sometimes I don't have any and I need it right now for this whatever spell work that I'm doing, and I'll just use it right after I get done making it. And then make sure you label your jar what it is. I always label it what it is. So I would label this one protection oil, and then I normally list what's in it. If my bottle is big enough, I'll list what's in it. If not, you can, put a little tag on it that you tie on with a string. You can make a note in your Book of Shadows that that particular jar is this recipe. Yeah, so like I had said in the beginning, you can use it for any protection workings. Just do what you see and feel that is right. Um, if you really need some protection on your house, then use it on your house. If you need some protection on you, then use it on you. If you're just doing your standard monthly protection candle or petition, pop it, whatever it is that you're using, you can use this on it. So it's very versatile. It doesn't have to be just used in one way. So I hope that you guys like this, and I hope that you found it useful, and I will see you next time. Bye.